Everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing another car video today because I got to get home and get ready for my martial arts class. So I just figured I'd want to talk about this because if you're not familiar with Styxhexenhammer666, there's plenty of stuff out there about him. You know, people consider him a lol cow. He has a lot of weird ideas and kind of a right-winger. He even admits it now. Done videos about him before. He has a very strange but unique take on a lot of things that I kind of follow because I do kind of find him fascinating and find his whole thing fascinating. Now, he's been accused of domestic violence, which I do not like, and I happen to have mixed feelings about it at this point because, you know, I do follow some of the gossip mills like Kiwi Farms and so forth about this. For the most part, I unfortunately believe that he might have done it at this point, but there's obviously two sides to every story, or more than two sides. Nevertheless, he has attracted a lot of a following that's very right-wing, and, you know, I'm not right-wing, by the way. I'm a leftoid. Let's just get it straight. I might be a leftoid that's has more in common with like the late 90s, early 2000s version of that, but I'm definitely leftoid, I believe. I mean, I have a lot of libertarian. I'm kind of if you can even imagine this, and a lot of people say this doesn't exist or can't exist, and it's contradictory, I'll admit it. I'm kind of I'm in between a libertarian and a leftoid, depending on the subject. My ideal government is, less government, is libertarian, but pragmatically, I'm a leftoid, if that makes any sense. Like, in many countries, you know, you can't really, I mean, it would be impossible. You would have to change society and our culture and our ways of being to really have a true libertarian society that functioned well to some extent. I mean, it depends on the region. You know, Hong Kong in the 90s kind of had that, sort of, and some certain small places had a more libertarian society that functioned okay or well. So I'm not going to go into those debates right now. As far as what I am, it's a leftoid that believes in less world government and globalism, whatever you want to call it. I'm very against that. So I share that with a lot of the right wing now. So people might consider me right wing, but I'm not. But I do share that anti-globalization or pro-localization about a lot of things with a lot of people on the right now. So that doesn't mean I believe in states' rights and, you know, all that stuff or whatever. But, you know, it's one of those things that is kind of controversial, and, you know, it's one of these issues that people talk about, and, you know, that's kind of what I see in things, you know. Oh, this guy's trying to cut ahead, huh? You're not going to. Anyways, you're fucked. Sorry. All this driving video stuff is weird because I do pay attention to the road. I just laugh about drivers and stuff. So this whole thing, you know, that's kind of a little bit extrapolation of my political beliefs. I have a lot of different beliefs about things, right? So I watch this guy. I find him fascinating. I find a lot of his takes really good. He has similar taste in a lot of things that I do. He's not actually. Razor Fist is probably a perfect distillation of taste, versus my politics are definitely not like Razor Fist. I'm definitely to the left, and I think Styxhexenhammer, I'm talking about YouTubers and these, you know, influencer, whatever you want to call them, media people that I watch, these people that make content creators, whatever you want to call them nowadays. Razor Fist is pretty close to my musical taste. However, I'm closer to Styxhexenhammer ostensibly, and I think he is quite different, even though they're compared just because they have long hair. They have long hair, so they're the same. It's so stupid to say that they're similar because they have long hair and they're commentators, because a lot of commentators don't have long hair, so maybe that's what they're saying. These people are just so out of it. I don't know. But they've embraced those comparisons. But anyways, I find Razor Fist to be kind of obnoxious. I like some of his stuff, but I like Styxhexenhammer in a certain way more because his takes are, I think, is actually somewhat funnier. And a certain aspect is dry humor. I find myself laughing more at Styxhexenhammer's takes, which is kind of strange because, you would think, all the verbose way, Dennis Miller-esque, sometimes maybe ripoff stuff that Razor Fist does is funny. From a comedic point of view, it's probably better, like, on a comedy level, but I kind of find Styxhexenhammer to be funnier in this certain way. So I watch him. I used to watch him every day. I don't watch him every day anymore. During the COOF, the virus, the Voldemort virus, Styx called it. I watched him every day because I watched Styxhexenhammer every day because he was really on the side of, I don't know if I'm going to call it sanity, but, I'm a little more moderate about it now, so I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not as, like, crazy, quote-unquote, right-wing as I was during the whole crisis. I'm like, well, maybe this was okay at the time. I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm pro, like, lockdown or pro-mask or something like that, but I'm just saying I understand it a little bit more and what people were feeling at the time and how they, handled it. Like, maybe not the hypocrites. Obviously, most of the politicians, or not most of them, but many of the politicians were total hypocrites, and that's unacceptable and uncalled for, and they should have suffered consequences for being violating their own guidelines they were trying to force upon people. So that's one thing I think should have been done differently, for one. So fines, Newsom should have been fined, or maybe went to jail, who knows. But anyways, what's this video about? This video is about the attack on the occult beliefs of Styxhexenhammer666 and this right-wing tradcon contingent that is just saying a lot of stupid stuff about him. And some of them are actually just people that don't like him, like probably from the left too. But they're attacking his beliefs, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, he was a Satanist. No wonder he got it. No wonder. Well, those people are bad news. It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean they're bad news? Are you talking about Anton LaVey? Are you talking about King Diamond? Is he bad news? Black metal musicians like Asan who've professed to be Satanists? I'm wondering who they're talking about. Are they talking about the elites that are doing these rituals? That Moloch is not Satan, by the way. So, oh shit, we gotta go to the right here. So that's the whole thing. Like, this whole, wow, this is crazy. Yeah, I got early because I pay attention to the road. I did it early, so that's great, right? So the ambulance, I mean. So anyways, it's pretty funny. This whole thing, like, these people are attacking the Styxhexenhammer666 for being a Satanist or whatever, which he's not at this point in time in his life. Now, he was into Anton LaVey like a lot of young people are. I was into Anton LaVey too. I never really tried any rituals of LaVey, but I definitely broke the stranglehold of Christianity on me, for sure. There's a few books and ideas that have broken, red-pilled me to a certain extent. There's, I would begin with the 90s and Noam Chomsky books, like Manufacturing Consent, and then the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey, and then The Game by Neil Strauss. Those three books changed my life and what I thought of everything. Just if people want to, like, read those books and just see what, and maybe I don't agree with a lot of the things in those books now 100%, but they definitely gave me this direction that I'm in now as far as my contrarian red-pilled views, whatever you want to call them. So anyway, about everything. So I mean, they've challenged my reality, and they challenged reality in general. So here's the deal with Styxhexenhammer666. He worships or follows this alleged demon named Stolas or whatever, who is this owl demon that was in these, occult grimoires from, centuries ago or whatever. He claims he saw some kind of apparition of this demon when he was 9 years old, and he says it brings him blessings and all this stuff. Now I'm going to postulate this: a person who's a scientific kind of person, scientific and scientist, believes in the material model of the world or the universe. Materialist, right? Not materialist as in like a greedy, it just meaning, the scientific meaning of that. Let me ask you this: a person like that, will they think, when they hear a person that says they believe in someone that rose from the grave and walked on water 2,000 years ago, and they talk to this person, this entity, are they going to think that's any less crazy than a person that claims to talk to an owl? It's an owl, so you can make fun of it more than a human. But people that worship Jesus worship all these different gods, or goddesses, or entities, or God. Is that any less silly? Really? Is that less silly than anything else? For real? Like, do you really think that that's anything that different? Well, it's Christ, it's a Savior. Of course they're going to answer that, and they're going to refer to the Bible and all this shit. Most of them, at least, will do that. So I don't think it's really any sillier than that. Someone worshiping an owl demon or whatever. I don't know if he worships the owl demon necessarily. I just follows an owl demon, fictional or not, because he's, featured in that cartoon, that people watch and stuff. But like, it's just like, it's really ridiculous to attack him for these beliefs, because it's like, what does that have to do with what happened with the domestic violence stuff? In fact, it's ironic, because I seem to see that most people in the world are one of the major religions, and many of those people commit domestic violence. So, it's a Satanism. It's like the porn thing. It's like, people are talking about porn, and I probably shouldn't say it in this video, probably mess with the algorithms, whatever. Like, all the women that do porn are all traumatized, and they hate it, and they never wanted to do it, and all this stuff, and clumping everyone together. Whereas, well, okay, I'm going to say that maybe women that do porn are in a poor, generally economically more distressed, generally have certain things that their predilection. There's definitely predilections. Okay, some of them are abused, maybe a little bit higher than the normal population, but like 1 out of whatever amount of women have SA happen to them. They don't all do porn, and there's a lot of people that do porn that don't have SA. If you look it up, I have to use code words for YouTube. They weren't abused or assaulted. It's the truth. You think that everybody that does porn was assaulted or has trauma, or Satan's like holding, is telling them what to do. It's just bullshit. I'm not moving, dude. I can't move right now. I'm sorry. I can't move. There's a green light now, but I can't move. So sorry. I apologize. I'm not going to move just because you're in that lane. So yeah, this whole idea that everybody that does all the women are just poor, defenseless dopes that do porn, or girls that are under the age of 25 are all victims if they this you go on and on. Yes, there are actual victims. There are bad porn companies. There are bad actors in that. There are Satanists that are bad. There are people that take that, it's a negative God or whatever. Yeah, well, I'd say the Christian God is pretty negative. Damn people for all eternity, for one. Well, and do all this stuff. And, the Bible has some of the most violent, horrific things that have happened in whatever you want to call it, mythology, fiction, religion, whatever. And Jesus is a more positive take on God, right? As far as the actual words or actual beliefs of what Jesus stood for or whatever, right? It's more positive than us, maybe Satan. In a certain way, like Satan's kind of reacting to the zeitgeist. If you read the Anton LaVey stuff, but Stolas is a demon. But a demon originally meant, like, in ancient Greek, means something else entirely than what it means now, and that's why the whole thing is so dumb. Like, there's all sorts of things that got twisted around by Christianity. I mean, the fact that Satan has horns is because of ancient gods that in antiquity they were worshiping. Are they any worse than Jesus or God? Have they committed... let me ask you a question. Have pagans killed more people throughout history and time than Christians? No, absolutely not. Have they done more terrible things to children? No. So, but yet they are blamed for this. Or Styxhexenhammer happens to worship an owl demon. Oh my God, that's why he's committed domestic violence, and that's why he's such a terrible person. Because, oh no, alcohol couldn't have had anything to do with that, or his other mental illnesses. No, it all has to do with this owl demon. Because we're Christians, and we follow this guy, but we hate him too, sort of secretly. It's just such bullshit. It's so stupid, and I fucking hate it. I hate the traditional social conservative mindset about, like, any occult thing. I'm gonna end this. So I'm gonna end this by saying this. Everything is the occult to a certain extent. When you have bad feelings about someone and you wish them harm because you just hate what they did to you, it's almost like a spell in your mind. When you label someone, there's NLP has to do with this too. I like there was this great NLP seminar that I watched that he said, well, those are spells. NLP and magic are very closely linked because it's language describing, using languages to curse or bless someone is kind of the occult. Positive thinking, isn't that the occult? This fear of the occult is really stupid and really silly and irrational. When I wish someone harm, basically I'm cursing them. Maybe there's not a ritual to go into it, as some kind of psychodrama, like LaVey said, or, Blackie Lawless has talked about this too before he became a Christian. Especially, like, it's psychodrama, it's the art of ritual on stage is almost like a psychodrama kind of thing. But no, it's just bad because it's an owl demon, and that's negative energy he's drawing to himself, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and playing it with a Ouija board will make you possessed. What I thought would make me possessed was owning a Merciful Fate album and listening to it when I was a kid, because I was so brainwashed into this weird, like, new age Christian kind of thing that I was like, oh, that's bad vibes, man. And I threw away, like, a Merciful Fate album, and threw away Misfits albums because I thought it'd kill people. All this crazy stuff when I was a kid. I own them, and I've never killed anybody. Not yet, at least. But, I'm waiting. But I'm just kidding. But, it's a joke. So it's really stupid and really foolish to, like, say, oh, the occult's bad, and Styxhexenhammer is only suffering what he's doing because of the occult that he's into. It's like, no, you're attributing things that aren't really factoring in. Now, I will say that, demons and Satanism, it is a little more on the dark side in a certain way, yes. But I don't think that your average Satanist is necessarily going to beat their wife any more than a Christian would. In fact, I'd say the opposite. I'd say Christians, because Christians have the tendency to have kind of this is going to be a longer video. I guess it's going to be longer, and it's taking me forever to get home too now because of stupid traffic jams because of this town becoming gentrified and so forth. So this whole Christian thing's actually a lot worse because you're repressing your inner impulses and doing worse things as a result of that a lot of the time. That's why you have the Catholic, SA scandals. That's why you have Larry Craig. That was back in the day. Look it up. That's why you have these bad actors that are doing these bad things, because you repress these things so much. You don't take it out and be a little bit more reasonable with a lot of the things that you do. It's like there's some woke people like that I've known. This guy I knew, he's like, oh my God, I've been watching the PORN I've been watching has been getting worse and worse. I'm addicted. I don't know what to do. He grew up Catholic, by the way, this guy too. And it's like, dude, I just watch it and I'm done. You know, one stroke done. Quote Andrew Dice Clay. Andrew Dice Clay. It's like, it's no wonder. Like, you know, you talk about like rock stars. Like, the more righteous rock star will get. A lot of times will get in trouble for doing worse stuff. I mean, I'm not talking about like Marilyn Manson, obviously, but I'm talking about, you know, a person that'll be like more politically correct and like more outwardly like self-righteous. Well, Cosby is a good example. Like, yo, I'm so much better than everybody else. You know, I'm so much better than my community because my pants don't fall down to my knees, and I don't use curse words. I'm so much better. Oh, well, it turns out you're worse than most people in your community, you know, in your community that you're looking down upon, right? It just happened. That's just, it's a cliche, but it's happened so often. So yeah, like even woke people are like really like, I've read about these so-called nice guys that are predators. I'm not saying my friend that, or whatever you want to call him, was a predator. I'm just saying it's just weird that he would talk about that and then tell me that I'm terrible for, you know, not terrible, but like, I don't like bothering women by cold approaching them, or I don't like doing this. I apologize to a girl for saying something 10 years ago, like all this weird shit that he was into. So people probably know what I'm talking about at this point if they watch this far. But yeah, I don't care anymore. So this whole idea that like, anyways, getting back to the whole thing with Styxhexenhammer, it's just so silly and ridiculous to say that he's such a bad person for worshiping a demon when you worship a lot of other stuff that's really weird shit too. I mean, Jesus, just saying like you worship a guy that lived in the Middle East, supposedly, I can't even prove that he lived for real. There's, you know, no historical, there's so much debate over that, you know. I mean, I happen to believe that probably was a guy maybe named Jesus. But historical records, ironically, under Rome, that was like a peak civilization. So their record keeping was pretty good, you know. But obviously, it's not perfect, especially in antiquity. But you could say, oh, Jesus didn't exist. I mean, I don't know. I'm agnostic about Jesus existing. But anyways, there's no proof that there's no photos of anybody walking on water or doing these things. You can't prove it one way or the other. I believe that I've had some weird experiences, right? But that's saying that you're the only right ones. That's where the flaw and the fallacy comes in. Because I believe everybody's correct in some ways. All religions have their way to the light, or whatever you want to call it. And I even think that's true for some of the paganistic or even, you know, darker side too. You know, in Hinduism, there's Kali and there's other, you know, types of things. I've talked about this with people about, you know, they're experts at Hinduism, and they've talked about like, well, there is a way through indulgence in Hinduism towards enlightenment. It's a harder path, but you can get there. It's a harder path for whatever reason. I guess because you get the vices, you know, it's a harder path, but we get there eventually. We all get to the same place anyway, you know, in that religion at least. So there's a lot of different ideas about this, but I don't think following an owl demon, yeah, it sounds like a little bit delusional, kind of like your Christian fucking bullshit, right? So, and I like a lot of Christian stuff because I like mystical Christianity and Neville Goddard and Course in Miracles. I find that stuff really has a lot of value and merit, actually. That's the irony. But I also find that some of Satanism does too. I'm a weird guy. You know, some demonic stuff does too, some magic. As a chaos magician, is point of view, chaos magician, which is probably the thing that I follow most. Some chaos magic into, you know, agnosticism. Model agnosticism, which is Robert Anton Wilson's idea. That's what I follow, actually. If you look it up, it's called model agnosticism. But, and, you know, I wish Styxhexenhammer would investigate that and talk about it, because it's really interesting stuff. So, this whole idea that he's not a Christian, no, he likes Trump, but he's not a Christian. He's not a Christian. I'm going to beat my wife, too, but that owl demon sucked him into beating his wife. I'm going to have sex with my sister and my cousins, and I'm a Christian. He's not a Christian. Fuck off.